a.m. Call this meeting of the Wichita County Commissioners Court to order on Friday, April 21st, 2023. This is a special session. And let's go ahead and get into it. Item number 1, review and discuss regular bills.
Well, that was first. What a deal.
Margaret, I've got a question for you on, Debbie did a, look at some different invoices we had it. We were tracking with Stuart Stevenson that didn't belong to us.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, me with.
And then
Yes.
I had her pull some stuff on
What?
2022,
Yeah, there's a
20
list on Monday.
21.
Wednesday.
We never engaged them. We got everything to that point, but we never engaged to have a service agreement with them.
Okay.
To your knowledge, like when you see those invoices come in, have we initiated that with them?
No, I mean, not unless there was something wrong with it. Most of the time it's preventative maintenance. Occasionally there'll be something that they've called them on that something might be wrong.
So you think they're trying to do something,
They do,
scheduled?
yeah, I don't think, let me see the last time we had one was, but it's usually preventative maintenance is what it is. Almost all the time, but
But we didn't
there's,
have a contract. I don't know that they can do that.
I was looking somewhere. What was
Are you
that?
saying that we didn't have a contract for them to do preventative maintenance?
No, we don't have anything set up. We never got that far.
You can't really come do preventative maintenance if you don't have a contract set up. You'd have to be a call as needed.
That, I hadn't quite figured that all out yet.
Are we sure it was preventative maintenance?
That's what Margaret thinks they're doing on some form of schedule, but
I mean, like,
as well as being called and doing other things.
While she's looking that up, Cheryl, I noticed on the mini list,
Yes.
there was a duplicate.
Okay, so what happened there is we have new people in the tax office and we have new people in the treasurer's office. And the tax office accidentally wrote their month-end fee office check twice.
Okay.
So they wrote it and there was a correction and then they wrote it again and they didn't mean to send both to the treasurer. And the treasurer didn't notice that it was sent over twice and deposited it. So the mini list is really to give them back the wrong amount that they shouldn't have sent over to us.
Okay.
That way they don't overdraft their bank account, et cetera.
So, new folks, but then the system working like it's supposed to.
Mike
Right?
caught it
His
when,
office
Mike caught it when he was reviewing the daily deposits,
Yeah.
yes. And called down.
it looks, first of all, it looks like we haven't done anything with them since October 22.
Oh, that's so all.
Actually, we paid October. It looks like September was the last service, sorry to
Okay.
interrupt you. But a lot of these say quarterly service. So September 28th and September 29th is the last time they looked at anything.
This is
Okay.
But that they were looking at all of them, and it's mostly quarterly maintenance. I think it's about $950, $1,000 if they don't repair anything, and it's just quarterly service, and then it goes up from there if they do some work on it, obviously. A couple of these are $1,900, had other stuff wrong with them. But I'm guessing that's when that man had the stroke or heart attack or whatever,
Yeah.
because we've not had anything since then.
Judge, in June of '22, the way the court order read was for EMO personnel to secure the services of Stuart Stevenson for ongoing equipment repairs and maintenance of the generator listed, and we included that in the agenda packet.
For EMO personnel to secure the services of.
Yeah.
That's the copy I gave you,
Yeah.
but that never occurred.
Okay.
And there was no contract or anything like that.
So
We
so
drafted.
we're still not getting our generator serviced, and this is something we've been working on for 7 years.
No
Yeah.
matter-
I think
If we're not
let's-
consistent
let's
with it,
hold
like,
on that.
we're
Yeah,
not.
but
I've got
five.
some on that, and I can give
Yeah.
you some updates there.
Okay.
Because it's gonna, that
It'll impact that.
fall under item 5.
Okay.
Cheryl, I paid, a rental check here, but they are reconfiguring now a rental. I went ahead and based it on 12 months instead of monthly, and it dropped at 1,500. They're supposed to take into account the payment we've made and send me the annual.
Okay.
That's what we call the Mickey sigh.
Hey Jeff,
Yeah.
Barry still got the $72 dumpster to dump,
Oh, really?
Unlike the other three of us. Mark's was $756.
756?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check to see what we even had in here.
What was the tonnage on yours, do you know?
That's not on.
I can tell you.
Y'all need me to look?
Yeah.
Is it waste management?
It's Waste Connections, yeah.
Mark, I'll give you my synopsis once we finish the dump trailers, because you can own your own pretty.
That's what I'm thinking.
See, you are killing the dumpster business.
Everybody got to own their own dump trailer. Don't understand. I mean, I have a dump trailer too.
Who does that say on it?
I don't use it for, but
I think we're gonna have, to do that.
Well, you're locked in though, Mick. I mean, they kinda got you. If you're gonna have one, you gotta have the one you got.
No, I don't have to have that green one.
At the yard?
No,
I
sir.
thought Burke was only.
Burke is that, but I can tell you right now that I've went to enough of their meetings, you know as well as I do, if you fight it, they can't win it.
So
So-
they're not arguing or pushing back on that?
They're only pushed back on the factory over there. But if we go to our own dump trailer, the county,
Oh, yeah.
Mark, I'm fixing to send you this because, it doesn't say.
it doesn't say the weight.
I can't
Put
see
away
on
on
here
the tickets.
where it says. I'm fixing to send you the ticket. I'll send it to you.
You sent it to Leon too, please.
I
Okay.
guarantee it has a fuel surcharge fee on
There
there.
should be a breakdown.
Well, it does, it says a disposal fee by ton, but it, okay, 2.17, I don't know what that
Oh,
means.
2.17 tons, so that should have been at the most $80.
At $55 a piece.
No way.
That's what,
$55
that's what
No
it
way. I'm
says.
paying 40. and
No,
Mark
I
shouldn't
hear you. I'll send it to all y'all so you
I
can see
pay
it.
30.
And 40's too high.
You're paying, so they're charging us that kind of rates?
When the gate rate's $30.
Yeah.
There's a rogue
That's
outfit
why
out there
Jeff
that,
said, can you set a dumpster over there? And I was like, "Yes, sir."
there's a rogue outfit, Judge called M&R Services, they just charge the gate rate, you know, for the customer that uses the.
And no fuel surcharge fees. Rogue. Are we discussing any of those trailers today on equipment?
No, I don't have, I'm not that far yet, man. I could get the one, but I couldn't get others yet.
Thank you, Margaret.
Mm-hmm.
I know we reached out to Trinity this week. They
Um,
didn't tell us exactly
no,
what
we-
they were getting ready to talk about. And we heard back from that. Because Trinity was gonna do the install and everything. No, that's tough. My goodness. No, I do that.
And Jeff,
Their fuel surcharge for one dumpster is $118.89.
It's a week job.
That'll just about cover your fuel for the day.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Mike just found it.
And I've got a good hand in that truck, he's hauled 7-8 boxes easy.
Mr. Liner.
Margaret,
Yes, sir.
when you get a chance, would you mind sending me the last one on my waste connection?
I'll do it here in just a second.
Do you see that, Margaret, all the time on everybody's invoices, fuel surcharge?
I'm sorry, I can't do two things
Oh,
at
no,
once. I can't
no,
walk
I'm
and chew
sorry.
gum. No, it's my fault. I mean, yeah, I don't know if it's on everybody's, to be honest with you, every time. When is the last time you had one?
I think it was last month.
I'm trying to find yours. Here we go.
It used to be that only precinct 2 had to pay the full
Oh,
amount.
you know what? Mark's trash has to go to the city landfill, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So they're taking Wichita's 30 and marking it up 25.
That's fun.
Is it administrative fee?
Administrative.
Well, they have other fees for that.
Yeah, I told them it wasn't their trash too, and they didn't like that. I said, call come off county roads and they shouldn't get a cut in
There you
it.
go,
So
there you go.
That is
they didn't
true.
like that answer. $756 for trash. $924 with the back charge. Yeah, don't dump trash on county roads and your taxes will go up.
I mean, he's just saying that's the core that he found for him to
We
do
haul
that.
4 dump
If
truckloads
he
of
made
trash
some
off
type of
the roads
agreement
this
to
week.
it, I'll be continuous.
What about the
Okay.
solar mower? It's just, it takes lots of time and money to haul that. And I try to put it out there also for me to get people involved, I'm trying to help. There's people.
Yeah, I saw that picture.
The last one was dated December
So we just pay it like.
I don't know why
1st.
people
No?
do that. It's just, I just can't figure people out.
Mickey, what is the lineup here on Mark's if Mark used the city?
Say that again?
If Mark used the little box from the city,
Food.
how does that shake out compared to this, what Margaret just gave us?
They'll charge they still charge a dump fee. I think it's around, figures out to be in around a $90 swap, I think. But the box is so small for the stuff he's picking up off the roads, it would be hard to use.
No, I
And when
agree.
you pick up refrigerators and,
I mean, refrigerators and
Couches
couches and
and-
mattresses,
yeah.
you just can't. I've got to where we're not hardly, if we go out to pick up, we're just hauling it straight to the landfill with the dump truck because I don't wanna handle it twice.
yeah, if we're out on the west end of the county, we generally do.
Mickey,
Yes, ma'am.
I can't find anything since December on yours. Are y'all taking it straight to the dump?
We've
You
been
have lots
taking
of-
most everything.
I was gonna say,
straight
cause
to
I
the
don't,
dump.
I don't see anything. I'll send you December's.
And I don't generally, I get a better rate at Wichita Falls landfill than I
It's,
do Owl
yeah,
Park.
I was gonna
Oh,
say,
yeah.
So I don't utilize Owl Park because I think I would keep my mouth shut.
Right.
I just
No, I
get
hear
a
you.
better rate.
but I sent you yours, but the last one was December. That I've seen several for taking it, and it is cheaper, obviously, doing that. I just checked one this morning for you guys taking it to the city landfill. So I sent you the last one. You should be getting it shortly.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, this is what Mark was talking about, Margaret, this one you sent. So this was generation one, and then we moved to generation two, when generation one never came
Occurred.
into play,
Yeah.
because Lee had not included all the generators.
He just did his own.
No, Lee Harvey had not included all the generators, and so then we backed up to go capture more, and then Tracy got it
It just-
built on his other.
Yeah.
And see, in the June 6th
Yeah.
of last year's wording,
These kind of make up
it's
stuff.
exempt from bidding because of what, man? Did you see that agenda, how it's listed on June 6th?
And I was like, I ain't using
So,
Finding this expenditure exempt from the bidding requirements,
Because,
it just says established by local government code.
I mean, it would be exempt if you can have someone that's, you know, above board, or exempt if there's only one provider, then it doesn't need to be bid. That's where we had the asbestos, that's why we didn't have to bid it, because there's only one provider locally.
let me see.
What's that local government code reference?
Apparently I did something to make them mad.
262.023. I was looking it up too.
Am I 119 a ton?
That Tracy was the one that had to come up with that. And we had no problem bidding that service, it's just that there wasn't any bidders for that service.
No responses.
And Caterpillar was servicing us out of the Metroplex, and now that's what's happened to Stuart Stevens, thanks to him.
Alright, I know we'll get to the generator thing as part of item number 5. Does everyone have a chance to look at the bills? Yeah. Okay. Moving on to item number 2, discuss and review jail maintenance projects and work orders.
No major projects. I know they got the, door downstairs is working properly now, and the one at the LSC's been fixed. Other than that, just a minor PM stuff for maintenance things that break. I want to clarify on Monday, I missed Monday. I watched it on the YouTube. On the filters, we went back and asked Trinity for an itemized list. Is that what y'all wanted from Trinity? Or what filters they were going to provide?
Yeah,
And on
frequency.
what order, yeah, was that bid for 12
Yeah,
months?
and that's what, and asking that too. It's a quarterly or a yearly bid, but we have not heard back from Trinity yet on that.
Okay.
Yeah, because the way it's written, it looks like it's just a one-time service.
I took it to be a
Probably-
one-time service.
Yeah, we probably need that at least, how many times, Rick? You're sitting there?
Well, it just depends on the type of filter you're putting in, but, you
Yeah.
know, minimum twice a year. If you can get 6 months out of them, that's great. You know, just depends on the environment, so.
Is that okay, Rick, to do that? I mean, 6 months on an industrial unit?
Yeah, as long as the filter capacity, you know, has it, you know, you're using, generally you're using a 2-inch pleat filter. So, you know, you take that filter and you stretch it out, it gets pretty big. So that's where you get the capacity for it to hold, you know, debris.
And a lot of the
So-
RTUs have 36 filters. Some of them do, they're that big, so.
So you're distributing that air, you know, throughout a lot of filter space. So, once again, it all goes back to the environment that it's in as to what type of life you're gonna get out of that filter. So the courthouse, we're not so lucky with all the construction, so we're not getting a huge amount of life out of it. But out there, probably the filters are gonna last a little longer. Now, when you're pulling 100% outdoor air, like I think some of those units are designed to do, then those are gonna be, obviously, they'll need to be changed more frequent, just based on that alone. Especially with 25, 30 mile an hour winds every day.
Yeah.
And they're doing construction work
Yeah,
just south of
construction's
us,
just south of it's gonna.
so it's kicking up dirt all the time into the air.
I think the biggest thing was that they were itemized for what the filters were.
Yeah, that's, we've,
So that we could
we've reached
compare.
out to
Okay.
Trinity for the itemized statement, but have not received it back yet. And I think Lisa even called again yesterday afternoon to try to get it.
Rick, could you investigate on the, as we get back into the back door, for the human resource, past the human resource office? If we was to, enclose the little gates up there, you know where I'm talking about? You
Where you
walk
can fall
down,
off?
yeah, you walk down the ladder.
Stop some of the debris from blowing.
Would it prevent an air tunnel from existing? Cause me and Williams went out those doors the other day, and as soon as he opened it, it just pulled all that stuff inside there.
Mhm.
And I thought to myself, if we close those gates, maybe we could sample it first with plywood, but then if it worked, then we could close them in with, you know, sheet iron or whatever on
We've got
the
granite
gate.
panels,
With what?
granite panels.
Granite panels or whatever, and just keep that wind from, it crossed my mind when that occurred.
I thought that would be the best too, yeah.
Yeah,
now
the only good reason I see for that at this point is just if you're trying to move something out of there and you know, or bringing it in, and you don't have to tote it down the stairs, but if it's that heavy, you know,
Yeah.
then maybe that's not any benefit anyway.
Yeah, that, but, you know, if you just wanted to put something on, leave those gates functionable, but close them, you know, and we put sheet iron behind the wrought iron and, you know, something small, 8 gauge or whatever, and tack it on there well and paint it, then if that worked, that could be and then you still use the gates if you needed them.
Right. Yeah, we can do that.
That hole does get covered with trash.
Yeah, that's the first time it crossed my mind like that, just when he and I went out there.
When we look at the fencing around the outdoor units on the north side, do the same fencing material. We're talking about doing a metal fence around those at some point. Same sheet metal.
I know I thanked you, Ricky, when I saw you, but the new chain and signs are much more welcoming for folks, and I know it
Very
addresses
sharp.
concern for people trying to exit during an emergency, so thank you for that.
And I didn't tell them, but I saw the kiddos from school taking pictures, and I wanted to go take those open and get the signs out of their way. They were taking their turns on the steps, getting pictures of the courthouse in their background. I didn't tell them that, but I mean, you were explaining to me that's just a magnet, right?
Right, one end secured, the other end has a breakaway magnet. So in the event you had to get down the stairs in a hurry, you walk through it, it'll push open, but it won't blow down with the wind, so,
Right.
yeah.
Any other questions on jail maintenance? Workforce?
I do have a question.
Go ahead, Tim.
Will when it wasn't Grida, which is who you normally have given me, but the other fella that's been,
Diggerman, yeah.
yes, very long time, he told me that the small John Deere generator that is behind the annex next to
The big one.
bigger one is not it's not in operation. The bigger one served the entire purpose. And to your knowledge?
To my knowledge, that's
okay.
correct, yes.
Because there is nothing wrong with the small generator, it's just long in the tooth, but it doesn't have too many hours on it. And
I don't know anything about that small one. So.
But it wouldn't hurt to be.
Pull it
okay.
off, no.
Okay, good deal. That's what I wanted to.
The gun range light poles, was that fixing those light poles part of the electrical?
No, that's just replacing all that stuff that's on the ground back there, all that metal that was on the
So
ground.
we still need to address
Still gotta
those.
address the light poles, how we're gonna fix them. Someone suggested maybe TxDOT might have some poles. I don't remember who said that the other day. You know,
That-
was it Barry? Yeah, we need to reach out to them and see that maybe they have some poles that aren't too tall that we could work with out there and address the issue with the poles, because they're still,
And the city of Burke used to have some there on Van Buren too, in that lot, that, you might check with the city too, because the city had got some got some replaced. They had a big stack of them also.
Wichita poles.
which-
Yeah. Okay.
Mark, what's the name of those deals from TxDOT, that barrier wall?
Jersey barriers?
Jersey barriers, do you have any need for Jersey barrier, which is how tall, Mark?
About 3 foot tall.
Those concrete deals.
Yeah, just like center median barriers.
They wouldn't apply out there anywhere or replace railroad ties on top of the berm or
I don't know
nothing?
how you'd ever get them up there.
Okay.
Those,
Sky track.
yeah,
With our crane.
crane. I don't know, I mean, any purpose we would have. We have a lot of guardrail, y'all need guardrail.
Okay.
Get hundreds and hundreds of feet of guardrail.
All right, any other questions on that? All right, number 3, receive status report on salaries and overtime. Chief, how's the new employees and terminations ratio going?
We hired 2, we lost 1, I let 1 go. I mean, the 4th time we caught him sleeping, it's time to go. So usually we fire him on the first time, but he had a couple extra chances. Could stay awake on pod. So,
In the pod.
in the pod.
Mm.
So they created
Well, everybody
this.
else is sleeping, I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard doing 30-minute walks when they're sleeping. So, it's just, we're effort every day to recruit. It's just finding people come to work.
Put you at what, about 25, 26?
Somewhere in that number still, yeah.
Luckily, I've noticed our overtime hasn't gone down.
Yeah, I was visiting.
This past couple of weeks, or maybe even the last 3 weeks, we've had quite a few inmates at the hospital for multiple day stays. And at one time, I think we had 2 there for 4 or 5 days in 2 different rooms. So that means you have a guard on them 24 hours a day, and that breaks up the overtime fast just for those sitting in the hospital. And they were there for legitimate reasons that we couldn't treat in jail. So.
So could those hospital stays, this is probably an auditor's office question, when they are over there, are those gonna show up as indigent healthcare, IHC?
The medical, Yes, the medical part will come through the
Only if
IHC
they-
bill.
Only if they're an indigent healthcare client.
Right. But if they're in the jail, aren't
Inmates,
they
aren't
automatic?
inmates going to be indigent?
Not necessarily, they have to fill out the application, and lots of them refuse to fill out the application. Some of them aren't from Wichita County, so they can't be indigent
And if they have
patients.
private insurance
Right,
or
they
if they have
private
commissary,
insurance.
then they don't qualify.
And if it's a hospital bill, we're gonna fall under that same thing if we only pay the hospital so much,
The 7%.
regardless if it's coming out of 561 or indigent healthcare.
Yes.
Well, is that the amount though? The amount we see is the amount we're paying the hospital? Is
Yeah,
it-
but that might not be what the actual bill is. That's
Right.
just what we'll pay for it.
And we may not pick that one at all to pay. I mean, we might have already met what we need to pay them. So those just get set to the side, we don't keep paying.
Right.
And then if something happens and the hospital reimburses us,
Then
and
we'll
we
pay.
get some money back, then Christie goes and she picks one of those old bills and she pays it to get back to what we owe the hospital.
Right, because our contract with the hospital is 7% of our M&O.
Now, the emergency room doctors or things, that would be a different story. And that would, if they were indigent, they'd be paid out of indigent. But if they refuse to fill out the application, you know, they don't live in Wichita County, they have outside insurance, then we're gonna pay that out of 561. And that would get paid because that's not part of our contract with the hospital.
When you look at my computer, just fix where I can rotate my pages. It's asking me to sign up for a 7-day free trial to be able to rotate my pages.
That's fine. Mine rotated pretty good.
It only takes a minute to pull it up.
Cheryl, would you look at that on that for United Regional? I think we also have an agreement in place.
We do 7%, that's our agreement with the hospital. It was written like 15 years ago, and we haven't updated it. Because Jim and I looked at that like not very long ago, actually.
Yeah.
Well, that's not
Paper page.
You think it's something separate?
something separate. It based on what the profitability of United Regionals. So if United Regional is way in the black,
Yeah.
the amount we
Scroll
pay
down.
comes extremely low because
Some of the pages are rotated.
7% is 1% less than what the state mandates that we pay.
Correct.
But
Actually, the state's at 7%.
we don't even get close to that though. We don't pay them 7% of M&O. That would be like a 10% would be
Well,
55 cents.
Yeah, that contract used to be at like 10% or whatever, but, of our amount. We were unable to locate anything that's a newer contract than the one that we found that was like set at 10% with the state's rate, so.
Because I know that I've discussed with Phyllis before and just cleaning up, Woody was a part of that when the general
And
and the
something's wrong. with it.
Thania joined and made United.
Right, and that's the contract that we found, and it was set at 10%. We've not updated it since then. Or if
Problem
it has
solved.
been, we have been unable to locate it.
Because I think that, and we could, Bob Hurt might be
Yeah.
an asset there.
That's a good question.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's a way to get creative.
If all else fails.
Who needs an IT director? Just kidding.
That was really the best thing you could do.
He's gonna have to reinstall my Adobe, so. We had talked
That's
before
hilarious.
court that I was having problems.
Just get Foxit. It's easier.
Now this is,
Look at this. Some of these
try to use a
pages-
mouse like
That's
this,
much
it's
easier.
very,
Some of these pages are crooked. On the payroll, part of them are one way, part of them are the other way.
That's the way it is. Yes.
all right, get the mouse turned the right way. Except for mine.
beat you in a lecture time so you can turn sideways.
I can look at it later. It's fixed.
Alright, then we'll move on to item number 4, general discussions on leasing office space within the county courthouse. So, as you all recall, we had TABC come in and visit with us about what their desire to come into the courthouse and have some office space from us. They got back to me and provided some information about their current lease and then an example of an interlocal agreement that they have with another county in Texas. I wanted us to just wanted to check the temperature of the court on leasing, what kind of price, if we were gonna ask for one. Just wanted to get the temperature of the court before starting negotiations with them, and because they've got, if they are going to move into if they're gonna lease space from us, they need to provide, I think 60 days notice in the current one, which would be in June, so we can start moving.
And what kind of square footage are they talking, Jim?
One
That
office,
one
I think.
little office.
Yeah.
And I don't mind going first, because I firmly believe that the state has money for that. If we're gonna provide security utilities in the courthouse, then I think it should be at a lease rate, not a free rate.
This,
Are you thinking that you're talking about like a 20 by 20 space? Okay.
It's not even that.
It's not even that big. There's one office there on the HR side of that wing.
Are you gonna put them in the new wing, or are you gonna put them in the old HR
You wouldn't want to put them in the new wing.
That's me. I personally wouldn't have put them in a new office, but that's the area that they had set out for.
Well, yeah, I'd pick that one too.
No. Our people had set
I'll
out for
take
it.
that. That's the one, it's an office that's not gonna be occupied, not gonna be used right now.
But that's flowing them through all of our business though.
If they're
That
coming
has
out
to
that
flow
back
through our
door,
business.
may I say something, they want to utilize that back door.
yeah,
If they come up here at nighttime, they have to come through one of the other doors, and we have our gates up, then they can't get to certain offices. If they come through that back door, they can come through and go straight to their office, especially if they're carrying in evidence or something to carry in to their office, instead of tracking it through because, we put those gates up so you can't get through the building after 5, and depending where the other offices would be at, that might hamper their ability, because they work a lot of nights instead of just all days. They be coming and going out here in the evenings.
And there's no way to build them into, across from Sherrill?
Oh, I don't know.
There's
Well,
not
you-
any space over on ours, it's full.
I mean, the guys that work across the street, or across the hall from
She
you.
needs DED in the regular.
Yeah, no, yeah, I think all of their offices are actually full between them and our other guests that are in that office.
Who is that?
We need probably rather not.
Oh,
Yeah.
So, yeah, so they have other people in that, and then the rest of it's taken up with either with evidence and et cetera, so. And then the only other room on our floor is full of tax office stuff, so.
well, I'm sensing heartburn on the new space of it. I don't think we've got plans for the new space that we're talking about.
No,
do we?
well, I mean, if HR was to need to add a arm,
Don't get any ideas.
Yeah,
There's still another office in the same hallway that's.
And I will say, and you ask Brendan, that copy machine has been an issue trying to find somewhere for it. So right now,
it's in an empty office.
it's in an empty office with all our work stuff, laminators, all that are in the empty office because the copier, it looks like if we move it, we're gonna move it into the closet, which then I was told there's no ventilation, so we have to leave the door open to the closet.
But with
But
what
it's-
you do and how it needs to be contained and confidential, it would actually makes more sense that it would be in a closet that you can lock at night, especially if we're gonna give an outside entity access to
And it needs,
the HR suite.
There-
No, they won't have access to the HR suite.
office
They'll have
needs to be
access that
locked,
office only.
they cannot
But
access
doesn't that go
us.
to
Yeah,
Don't they have to go
that's,
through
that's
reception?
solvable by changing the way the lock set is, so.
Which office are you referring to, Mark? Right, just,
So it used to be Jill's office,
yeah, okay.
yeah.
What's going in that office that, was in that big office in the old CID, at the back there?
That's all, remote conference room.
Is it, okay?
Well, then, just for y'all's edification, the recently finished space in downtown Police's is running anywhere from about 95 cents to $1.10 a square foot.
And to me, that's, it'd be different if we're talking about thousands of dollars a month for the county, but that's a nuisance for a little bit of money. And, you know, Tanya has a blow up down there. Somebody else is listening to that blow up. When I come in, I'm mad, I'm venting about she says, hey, come in the office. Somebody else is exposed to that while that occurs. I just, for that little amount of money, we're talking about $300 a month kind of thing,
We haven't,
traipsing through is not, I mean, I'm all for it being at the right place, but I mean, I just hate to disrupt the vibe of district clerk and HR and
it also puts an additional law enforcement presence down on that floor.
After hours. I don't know that you're gonna notice that, anything.
During the day.
It's
I mean, maybe
it's a
some.
manned office during the day, that's why they wanted a public fronting office.
I think by appointment only, they said.
It is by
From
appointment
her-
only, they said
Yeah.
you'd have to make an appointment, so.
you know, if it was a discrete investigation thing going on and they come and go at nighttime, but, I mean, we are gonna have the public, then the public's gonna expect to come in that reception area and wait till Johnny gets off the phone to deal with them. They gotta stand somewhere. They're either standing out in the hall or standing in Tanya's reception area waiting to meet with somebody, and they get all that for
No, there's
$300.
nothing, they'd be in the hall, they're not coming into Tanya's area.
Well, they're gonna have to be told to go back into the hall because they're gonna come in Tanya's area trying to find where they belong.
Isn't there a separate, Tommy's area is completely separate with a door.
There's a separate door for them to enter the
For
hallway.
Yeah.
Completely separate door, but they do interconnect, I mean, through the back hallway.
But from a public facing perspective, it would be a separate door.
Yeah,
They would
they'd come to that door first, if they can't read, I guess they'd pass by the door that clearly would
Okay, public
say.
can't read, let's,
Yeah.
let's
They
clarify.
can't.
We have a
Yeah.
big sign that says tagged office is closed.
Closed.
I know.
You can see it from the
Gotta tell you
sky.
that you can see it from a
Yeah.
helicopter, but I get it.
What, you're closed?
Did they catch your pulse? You get
I'm
the
getting mixed readings from the pulse of the court here. No, that was helpful. I mean, yeah, I'm of the agreement that if we're gonna do space, they should pay for it. Now, obviously a governmental entity in the state is gonna be a good tenant, I would imagine, and so
We'd hope.
that would, I don't know.
Is there anything on that north hallway that
It's
you
all
come in out that
covered.
back door, that's all
It's
accounted
all-
for?
Yeah, elections is getting the biggest chunk of it.
Who?
And it's elections, and then security, mail rooms. Security and mail rooms gonna be moved all the way up to, in the old, where HR was occupying. So up against the jail.
Is the constable's office coming over that hallway?
No,
They're not now?
no, elections is taking up most of it.
Okay.
No, Mike likes where he's at.
Okay. Well, that was helpful, thank you.
Clears mud, right?
Security in the mail room, all be in the same, there'll be a security office behind the mail room. So basically, the security office will be where Tanya was. And the mail room will be in front of it. And then the rest of everything else, where the old IT office, the old original HR, and part of where you were will all be elections. Right across from your voting room, which makes some sense.
On the adult probation side of the first floor of the annex, is it all consumed?
It's all
Oh,
considered.
yeah.
They would like more space.
There's nowhere to
It's not
go.
all around that old-
Can we lease them out all of the fourth floor? The
Right.
old jail? Put some plywood walls up and make a little room.
Well, it's interesting that, I mean, we do have another potentially interested tenant. And the city of Wichita Falls has at least expressed some interest in having office space over here
In the courthouse or the
in the
annex?
courthouse. But there's nothing left in the annex.
Yeah, there's nothing left of mine.
The Lindeman building.
Probably they're permitting industrial.
Housing and urban development office, I think is what they were looking at. They're landlocked in the Memorial Auditorium, have space.
Yeah, the city's out of space too.
So
Okay.
another potential
Yeah.
good tenant,
Hmm.
but, I mean, that was based on the conversation with assistant city manager, but
Nothing.
nothing beyond that, just
Yeah,
they
we
expressed
They'll want
interest.
it.
we know that TADC wants, because they come in, they made their
Yeah.
presentation.
Sure, I'll just-
Okay.
And I'm all for it. I just,
They did.
I'm worried about where. And there's a lot of benefit for a cheap space in our new work or tell-off space that then we're given, because coming by space for our own people, I mean, that's been at a premium. And we blink our eyes and then we need the space, well, we can't do that because something else.
There's definitely an opportunity cost to doing it.
Well, you say that, if potentially down the road HR needed more room, or even the district clerk needed more room to expand to that office, I'm sure it's a lease. We could say, hey, we're gonna have to move you to a different office in the building. But, because we can't, we've got to grow to where we're at. That's something we can change.
Yeah.
That's part of being a landlord. You can change the lease at a later date.
And drop the lease and talk to them about, move out notice and how often we would renew it. I mean, we can take all of those factors into place with negotiating with potential tenant. So this is why I wanted to hear from everybody.
There's also potential on the fourth floor.
And there was, TDCJ did express to me that they're interested in space too.
Well,
You talking about the OGI, because they reached out to us too, and told them. didn't
Yeah,
have
they
space.
reached out to me.
There, between the permitting and this group and this group, that becomes a nice deal.
What about the Lindeman building? It's moving ready, right?
All we gotta do is take Mickey's dumpster over there and.
Yeah, let's
Not-
not even go there.
Not Mark's, cause it costs too much.
That's what I was thinking.
Mickey, he gets free trash. We don't know how that works, but
That's good. I didn't know about the other two, so, okay.
The city will charge us a premium, but they'll want that release space for free.
yeah.
Okay, all right, thank y'all very much. Item number 5, discussions on precinct 5 equipment needs to include, but not limited to, county-owned generator maintenance.
The first thing that I have is, and y'all had already looked at, we already approved, and then I give Nancy this for Monday. But we didn't beat because we were trying to strategize, and in the process of strategizing on this tractor to be delivered in January of '24,
The price went up.
the price went up. So what we were talking about, a $9,500 tractor, went to a $112,500 tractor. So we had a $3,000 increase on this. which is back on the agenda for Monday to reapprove the new quote. So I just wanted to mention that while it's, that y'all will see that again, and it should be in our packets, just what that is. And similar to what happened to us at Mack truck, we had that occur on the distributor. So yesterday, the TxDOT and Mark had indicated maybe setting these things. I'm gonna have to do some homework and get Leon to look as well. But those Jersey barriers, they've got us 20 if we so choose, and we can use their clamp to move them with. Those things are 6.5 tons apiece. So we can certainly do that. We just gotta have to stage it. There's some setting at a rifle range by our milling pile, and then the rest of them are out at the roadside park.
How many do they have?
Park, 20. And
I think they'd be good to have.
I would have used them in the county line project. Had I had them a long time ago, we'd have put them down there.
I used them on Daniels Road,
Yeah,
because they're much more difficult to move than a couple of plastic barricades.
Yeah.
yeah. Ken Barry's crane, what is it, 20 ton? Real left, but the sheriff's crane, what is it?
I thought Barry had said a 20 ton.
Okay. So this, keep that in the back of your minds, and when Barry gets back, I'll confirm everything with him and just see what we can do. But we'd move them a couple of at a time from, and thank goodness they're not too far off. So
Will a loader pick them up?
no.
A loader won't pick that one.
But we're not going to have, unless we got such a thing, we've got use of their clamp. So, you know, this thing's me to you,
Right.
big. It goes over the top of them, locks in place, and then you grab it. You just kind of center it on the barrier, which is 30 foot long, and you.
They're 30-foot long barrier.
30 foot?
Yeah, I think they're 30. And they're, whatever the reason, they've now disqualified them. Now they use a different kind of barrier. These flare at the bottom, both sides. Now they don't flare. Only one side flares or so. It's that. So they're phasing them out of highway use. But I mean, there's a lot of things we could do. We just, as long as Barry Crane can handle them, we're okay. But we're probably gonna have to acquire us a clamp.
So I'm wondering if you can cut them in half.
Maybe so. Do you know, Mark, if they're full of rebar, or how's that?
They're full of
Yeah, they're
rebar.
full of
Yeah.
rebar.
They have a
just
lot of
like a brick
rebar.
drill.
But you
But
just
you-
saw them?
You just take like a ready saw and cut them. If we could get them down to half, we could pick them up with a loader.
Yeah.
With a clamp with a loader.
Yeah. Good idea. Okay.
It'd be nice to have, if a bridge go out or.
Oh, yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
It-
Okay.
it
Well, I'm
would be nice
move
to
forward
have.
then with that, getting them. Do you think, Mark, that you got space on the yard to set them?
I can find a place to put them. I've got space.
Okay.
Would you go grab
Well,
some?
well,
There's a
well,
big
well,
office
well,
downstairs.
What the HR, they got room.
Empty space, fourth floor, living in Philly.
One, as two on precinct 5, and Cheryl, you can help me. I don't think we've got in our individual budgets per, 5 is not a consideration in our individual budgets, but we need it to be moving forward.
I mean, yeah, that's really
A lot.
kinda up to the way we want to budget that for 24, whether or not you wanna.
Because we're gonna be out of money at the first of 24, and the only way purchases will be made in 5 will be contribution of
Correct. But I don't wanna get us back into the thing where we just arbitrarily gave $200,000 from each precinct into precinct 5 without having a plan for what we were gonna spend it for, because
Yeah.
then once you give it to precinct 5, it just accumulates, and that's where we got into our problem with, is we had a lot of money in there that we couldn't really use for anything but precinct 5, so I don't want us to just
So-
arbitrarily give money.
So do we need
So we
a precinct 5 budget, that, what we set that, and then we all
Yeah.
contribute?
As we go, I mean,
Yeah,
we
I
could
mean,
just put a line
a line
item in
item.
each of your
Yeah.
precinct that you,
To fund it,
to fund
the
it,
budget.
and then we wouldn't move it until
Right.
needed,
Okay.
which
But
is.
we're gonna need to know what that number is.
Yeah.
so
Right,
we
And
so we
we'll
kinda
have-
need a
have to
plan
develop it.
on what you think you're going to do with your precinct. But once it's in your own precinct budgets, we can move between, I mean, it's just gonna be a line item in
What,
there,
you
so.
mean, what, if it was a dedicated expenditure that for equipment in the individual budget, it
Yes.
can move over to 5 no
Yeah, we
problem.
can just move that
Okay.
as needed, cause we would just take it from your individuals.
And see, we had plotted, I don't know, $300,000 just off, for last year's precinct 5 is what we had kind of budgeted.
Yeah,
And, but we're going to be, once the distributor, delivers, and with the small skid steer stuff, it's going to take us
Right.
out of play.
and that was kind of the goal, was to deplete that precinct 5 and then let us, build within your individual precincts money to pay for those shared expenses, where we're not just throwing money into an
Right.
account we can't use. And then if you don't use it, it just stays in your fund balance
Yeah.
and we'll roll it.
And I think there's a little bit, and it's not going to deplete it, but
It'll be
when
pretty
the
close.
tractor shows up in January, that'll deplete it.
So we're gonna need to know what we're intending to purchase out of precinct 5 next year. So
Yeah.
we can divide that by 4 and put that
In our
number
budgets.
Yes.
Correct.
What I'm
And
saying.
And then
And
if you
the-
use it, you use it. If you don't, then you don't. If you go over that, then you'll just need to find somewhere else within your individual budgets to fund that.
Yeah. And what we haven't been doing, Cheryl, and I don't know what the process best is done,
WD-40.
but because of the length of equipment today, we don't, or never thought about, hey, last year I didn't use this money in my equipment fund,
Yeah.
but I didn't roll it over for
Right.
the next year. So
It
because of
is
the way we're
changing the
having.
way we're budgeting. Plus, we budget, our budget has to be passed 3 months before the year end, so we are at a disadvantage on a calendar year. It does make things a little cleaner for books and understanding, but for budget purposes, it makes that much harder, because we don't even have all of 22 to kind of, or 23
Gauge
to
against.
kind of gauge where we're
Right.
at. We are using the prior year, at least we're not 2 years prior like we used to be, so.
Your crystal ball has to go 15 months, and you only have 9 months of information to put into it.
Correct.
Yeah, and we're not as hindered, but the sheriff's department, very hindered. Because if we can't get something in a year's time, that money washes and they start
Right.
over anew
Right.
with a new pot of money.
That's
So
right.
that's a whole,
Yes, y'all are at an advantage because it's in your own fund and it's got a special road and bridge tax, so it just builds fund equity. The rest of us all goes back into general fund equity and then, fund balance, and then we start over.
Okay.
It's a use it or lose it.
I'll let y'all.
But you are letting us encumber funds, or letting departments encumber funds and transfer from one year to another. Like we bought a Tahoe for the sheriff's office and it didn't show up till January 2nd.
Right, yes,
It-
so as
we
long
can
as,
encumber
there
it for
are
the
legal
previous
ways to
year.
encumber. A PO and a court order lets us encumber the current year's budget, even though we're going to physically take delivery and pay it. There are a couple of ways that you can do that through legally, and that's what we do. That's why I'm always like, we gotta get the PO, and we gotta get the court
Yeah.
order that we're using it this current year's budget, so we're not using next year's budget to pay
Which
for
is
it.
what happened to me the first 3 years I was here. I wasn't allowed to encumber and I didn't get things delivered
Yeah.
till after the fact, so I had no money for 3
Right.
years.
So historically,
But-
everybody asked for a purchase order on December 28th, everybody in the entire county.
Yes. But the PO, when we roll out the purchasing system, I think that's gonna help that.
Yep,
So-
for sure.
Okay.
Okay, so, on the previous person that, our company that was tending to our generators, we, are really seeing some exorbitant costs. And the, last year, that 22, Margaret, the spreadsheet that I put all those into was about $52,000. And there were a lot of charges that were, I mean, it's not being managed on that vendor side very well. They're getting away with way too much. So this is something that we're looking at, and I think Monday this group will finish the exercise of being through everything and be able to at least have a flat line or baseline for our services. We do have some stuff that's long in the tooth, but we shouldn't, I mean, we're playing with fire on some of our emergency management stuff for sure, and we don't want to do that for very long. And what's happening with our current vendor is they don't have the manpower locally to deal with that, so they have to then get us help from elsewhere because they're a big group and they can, but that may not occur quickly. So that's how this comes into play.
The last one that they did for emergency management, they charged over $1,200 in labor.
Yeah.
That was the one where
That was
they take
quarterly
the gas.
maintenance.
With no backup for that maintenance.
Yeah.
too.
So how many generators is that?
That was one. That was a GLE, and it said there was an element, 2 fuel filters, another filter, I don't know what it is. It looks like oil at 8.5, I'm guessing quarts or whatever comes in. And then it says there's an environmental fee of $1,450, field regular labor $1,283.13.
Wow.
Well, the
I'm in the
whole
wrong
ticket
business.
though, the
Yeah.
whole ticket, if it's, the one I'm thinking about is like 5,900.
No, that one's not. This is just the last one they did. I can look at that one.
Look, in September, Margaret.
Okay.
No, I remember the last discussion we had on all this, some of our generators were 20-plus years old, and it was gonna cost more to do maintenance on them than it cost to buy a brand new generator.
Yeah. And in
Maintenance
some
for a year.
instances that's true, but like mine is old, Mark, and it certainly performs well.
Yeah.
And I need to probably schedule that and get that updated because mine was juveniles before it was mine. And we depend on it a lot, but I just need to schedule that through. We do have, and Nancy's gave me an update on the FEMA grant. So we're working about $250,000 towards the purchase of our crucially essential generators, which are tower generators that are going to be of a 50 kilowatt nature.
Yeah.
And that'll help that. One of the dilemmas here is that we have roughly 20 generators in play, not counting wheels setting on in the sheriff's yard, about 3 emergency generators they use if they was to tornado happen or something. Very low hours, very good units, but that doesn't include those. So shy of 25 total bigger generators that need some form of watching over.
Yeah,
And
3 on this
We
property.
really need that centralized, which has been very decentralized, and
yeah,
we probably should determine, like, one person, somebody needs to oversee that those get done annually or whatever that's
Right.
required, and that
Right.
we centralize our payment process for that, because nobody seems to wanna take responsibility for who's paying for what or who's scheduling for what. and
Right.
It does
and
leave us
that's why,
kinda
Cheryl,
guessing in our-
under this, what we would do
Did you get a
is
copy?
move.
No,
Let me give you.
I think we have an extra berries on here.
just give me berries, he ain't gonna look at it.
I thought you made enough copies.
Well, he's not.
Not,
Um,
not at this.
Cause I have some questions on this too.
And so everything would move to the portal, and so that it's reporting and a maintenance schedule adhered to there, any work done, yada, yada. But we're calling them for scheduled stuff. The one Margaret's looking right now is we called for an oil change because they hadn't done it last year, and it was astronomical. And they came and did it, but
Now, Margaret, you talked to Lee on something with the generators, right? Like, this could do like one part, but it couldn't do something else?
No, that was when I was talking to Jeff. He has someone who can do the oil part, but we need someone to do the
But-
electrical side of it.
no, it's everything now.
Is it everything now?
Okay.
Okay. So
Yeah.
B&D's not gonna
We
do
can
it
load
yet.
test them, make sure, see, Stuart Stevenson came up and set mine up, and they're mechanically checking it, but they're not load testing it.
Gotcha.
And so I need it to be able to do both, so.
See, I'm looking at one right now that was for the courthouse jail generator from March, where it says he went to location, got filter numbers, ordered parts, unit was low on coolant, topped it off, returned to site, changed oil and filters, performed generator check, added inhibitor to cooling system, found oil pressure shut down not working, unit will need a timing delay module, adjusted speed switch, and it's $3,275.40 of labor, not for parts, labor.
But see, every time, one of the things, once our program's set up in Portal, they know before they go
What's wrong?
what is
Who
indicated.
is it gonna be?
B&D,
B&D? So he can do both sides?
yes.
Okay.
Who initialized that call out for
This
this
was
service?
I believe this was a quarterly maintenance, let me look and see.
Quarterly maintenance? Okay.
That's when the jail was taking care of the generator.
See, that's another,
Are we
nobody knows who's taking care of what
Everybody's,
generators
yeah, any
where.
random person's calling for whatever, I mean,
It's,
Do we have all the generators in this building under your control
Well, now.
now?
Now,
Rick's was in line, all the ones we checked out, Rick had, stuff scheduled and everything, but the last thing Rick's wanting to do is have to go out there and babysit, this when somebody that is, more of, mechanical natures can deal with it.
No, I'm not suggesting that we do the maintenance at all. Not at all.
I would like to say that if you're talking to them about billing, it would be very helpful if you would bill them separately, because the last time, and I appreciate that it's so much cheaper, but it was like 15 generators at 8 hours, so I had no choice but divide it evenly. But if he's having a hard time with yours and he spends 5 minutes on his, that's not fair for me to split that cost that way.
because
So I
currently
would
there's.
prefer it if he would split them out. If he wants to put on one invoice, I need to know how much each one
Can we
costs.
just issue them part numbers or equipment numbers?
Well, I mean,
G1,
I can
G2,
never-
G3?
Yeah, well,
Eventually,
everything
they'll get
is
all
getting,
inventory,
like,
but-
everything we've inspected so far has a scan code on it and an assigned inventory number,
As long
so,
as I have a list of what the assigned inventory numbers go
Yeah.
to.
right.
Right,
Then
and
I
that
know
will
our-
all change when we roll out the inventory systems. But yes, if we could get that, then that would be fine. Currently, yeah, it's billed by department, so we can continue to do that, or we can just decide we're gonna take care of
Right.
countywide all generators under one bill, and we'll bill it to 409 or whatever, and that covers everybody.
At one point, Lee asked to pay for all of it.
Or put it in
I mean,
EMO,
so
like we
I-
would budget it to pay for this for countywide out of EMO, which
Right.
would make more sense. And then if we get a bill like that, it doesn't really matter.
Right. And
It would make things easier.
I'm on the 22 list, Margaret, somewhere in there, ours wouldn't run, and then we lost power, and we couldn't get it up, and so we're
I
saying.
think that's what we get a court order for, wasn't it?
We did do, to pay it, but mine said $5,300 worth of labor.
Yeah.
They put on, but with no
They don't give you any
explanation.
explanation for the
And
labor at
that's
all.
just crazy, because no way should it cost that, and the big jail generator was a $6,000 oil change, and no way should it have exceeded $2,500. It is carrying a tremendous amount of filters, but, there's about 4 fuel and 4 oil. And that it should cost more, but shouldn't cost that.
No, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean,
And,
it's a huge generator.
yeah,
And I'm sure it takes gallons of oil,
yeah.
but $6,000 for maintenance is.
Yeah, and some of that, it's one thing to go change the filters, and maybe if there's only 25 operating hours on it, we pull sample on that oil, it may not need to be changed. So we don't have to just because it's not been run, but we can update our filters if they're starting to get some age on them. But, you know, they're just, the reason I'm sloping this direction is because I know their capability and I trust what they tell me, and we're not doing, I was not engaged here at Stevenson, didn't ask me anything about some of those, what they did, and they just did it and expected us to pay.
And we did.
And we did.
Yeah.
By way of comparison, the juvenile detention, their generator, when it got about 12 degrees, the display would go blank. And then it would not remote start when it needed to. And so we ended up putting a heater in there, keeping it warm and keeping it going. So I had to reach out to Cummins to get a display, or to talk to them about it. And so they sent me a quote for $6,000 to come down here and change the display. And so when you're talking about labor, those numbers you're hearing is probably not that crazy compared to other people, because that was Cummins. But we was able to get the display for $1,400, and we changed it ourselves, and up it came. But had it been a circuit board, we wouldn't have been that lucky.
Right.
But anyway, just kind of comparing labor rates.
And see, I did, Rick, on my generator, I had them check the part that Stuart Stevenson put on there so they could control some of the scheduled runs on it. And we could have bought that same thing for $800 that I paid $2,200 for.
Yeah.
For
So,
the control generator?
Yeah.
Yeah. Governor, excuse me?
Governor,
Yep.
so it just, they're aware of the fact that
Yeah.
we're not on top of. And what this allows you to do, Rick, is in the portal, you can look and see, you know, when the last, it was touched, what happened the last time anything was touched. It gives us a lot more benefits.
So you get
If
the
Margaret
service
needed
records.
something, she could pull it from there.
Yeah, I had a good conversation with those gentlemen when they came out, and got a pretty good understanding of what they do, so.
The portal is run through an outside website, through us, through,
The portal is run through, actually housed by Caterpillar.
okay.
And that would contain all our service records and stuff, so even if we had an insurance issue, then they would.
Even for non-Caterpillar generators?
That's correct,
Okay.
yeah.
Even
Nice.
for non-Caterpillar equipment, that's what
Yeah.
we're looking at, putting all of our equipment on too.
Okay.
Because it's one side.
I call that a radio, they call it a governor, but that's,
On that particular one, I don't know if you noticed, they charged over $300 for a truck charge. Just to take their truck out there again.
To hook up
After
to it, and he tell you-
$300, almost $5,400 in labor.
right.
So they're gouging us because they think we have no idea what's going on, what to regulate.
Yeah.
Is there a per generator fee in that for the portal?
No, yeah, there's a per generator, per year deal.
It's kind of like a license.
Yes, it's like a license, you pay an annual subscription, but it's not very much. Once we are already engaged, we're already subscribers to, we just didn't have everything, like it was, my loader didn't come with the ability to, it didn't have the radio it needed in order to report. I just didn't even think about ordering that with that, so had to get that corrected. And but all of those, it's capable of doing all of that type stuff where maintenance records, what we did and what we paid, all are in the same place. And the filter lineup on it is really, that's a big thing, having them in place, at least a set of change out stuff.
So what's the fee, or what's the subscription fee?
The subscription fee, I think, is we're trying to get them to, right now, sure, what came up is that we discovered that when we initially told Caterpillar we're wanting to utilize the portal in a more in-depth way, then they gave us a parts discount. That has not engaged yet, and we've discovered that they're not giving us our discount. So we want them to backtrack and give us the discount on that. But the subscription rate for a piece of equipment, without me just nailing it down, but it's a $30 to $50 a year
Okay.
fee to report the deal. That's
For a piece of
something
equipment?
along that lines. Now, we may need to buy a radio to make that happen. That could be $150 charge per radio, maybe. I don't know. But I'm trying to remember. I've talked to so much. But that radios last for the life of the equipment, or the governor.
So we'll have some upfront costs on that, and then we'll have an annual cost per piece of equipment.
Yeah. One thing that the portal will also do that we can't do today is that it can gauge the fuel. And so right now, it's there was an instance in last year where we didn't have a generator come on at the time needed. They went and inspected and realized that it's out of fuel.
Mhm.
That cost was very high. They didn't put the fuel in it. We still had to go do that. So,
It was $1,500 for them to go look at it and tell us it was out of fuel.
and I just
I
want
mean, I would've done that.
to move to somebody that has interest in what they're doing on our behalf. You know, that is smart about, because we do have Rick sitting on one here. We probably don't have to replace his big one, as big as what it is, but it needs to be something we talk about this budget cycle, because it's long in the tooth, and it doesn't have all the things that a modern one will do. And another thing is, across the board on all those 20+ generators, none of them are really comparable. They're all something different. You know, the gel generator had a John Deere motor in it, which is commonplace, but most of our others are Kohlers or Cummings, and it's just, you know, that's as we migrate or move, we need to keep that in mind. At Cummings or Kohler's probably where a person needs to be today, one of those kinds, but some of that labor, Margaret, I'm convinced it starts when we make the call and it's coming from Dallas.
Mhm.
So
Yes,
we're
sir.
paying that.
Correct.
I would agree. But they should put it that way, they should put a travel charge.
They sure should.
They should break it down, it just shouldn't be all in labor.
Yeah.
Hobart comes in and fixes jail equipment, they literally put their travel charge on there, and then they put their labor.
Which
That's
is
how
how it should be. Yeah.
Right.
I do have a question about your proposal though. I'm a little confused. PM1 and PM2. PM1, you're showing they're $160 an hour. That's for, it shows oil changes, stuff like that. But it's including travel time. So why is the
PM2.
PM2, I don't understand. So is that a PM2, is that a quarterly inspection? Is that a yearly inspection? Because it says quarterly up here, and if you're saying we're gonna pay $350 per quarter per generator?
No.
Because I don't understand really and truly why, if you're going out changing oil in one, you're not going ahead and doing your quarterly check while you're there.
You are, but we don't think that there's many quarterly checks needed once the machine's reporting. We don't anticipate that being the case. Like,
That's what I would think. I wouldn't anticipate it needing much of anything if you can
right.
make
And
sure things are right.
Caterpillar couldn't give us what we needed by today, and that's why I don't have him here, or I would have had him here to help elaborate. So we're gonna have to push back till Friday the 6th, I believe,
Yeah, I think that
5th, to go a little bit more in depth. I'd rather him be telling you because he's certainly extremely capable and I'm not.
So you're thinking that this 350 per generator price, I'm assuming if they're gonna go out there and they're gonna load test it, they're gonna inspect it and load test it, and I know the person doing this, I'm sure they can do it in an hour. They're not gonna touch a machine they're not gonna be there for more than an hour. So that's $350 for that hour's work.
it'd be $350 for 4 hours of work essentially. Right, because you're talking about quarterly.
So they're gonna go hands on site quarterly.
No, I don't think we're not going to all those machines quarterly unless there's a need, there's some need to. We can, they can, not right off the bat, not tomorrow, but we can put them on their own test cycle like mine is set up to do. That's where we're moving to, so that we know they can report to us and we don't have to go do anything unless something's showing a code, throwing a code, indicating to us there's an issue. So we can't get there tomorrow, but we can get there relatively quick. But I need him to explain that because I can't explain.
Yeah, I'd like to hear their,
Yeah,
Should I
because this
be
is
able to
very
question it?
confusing.
yeah.
Because your PM2 says it's for quarterly at $350 per generator, so
That's a lot.
plus
And-
travel time and mileage, so
Yeah,
that's, if it's not necessary, then.
No, that's exactly right. And I know that we didn't think like mine, for example, should be an annual maintenance thing, and mine's a 50 kilowatt generator. And so it just, there's a lot more he can explain. Now, the jail has a lot more reason to test it, to run a load, to do some different things. But, you know, I don't have to have that. And I'm not critical as some of our other components are. Our tower generators are critical. So,
We might need a mix of, say,
Yeah.
1 and 2.
Yes.
Some might need
But-
1 and some may need 2 if
Right.
they're critical or not.
Yeah, the jail has state requirements on that.
Correct.
Our building does not. So,
Right.
or your building doesn't, so.
and see,
Well,
right
that's
now,
not having prisoners.
And
Now,
we're
this
not-
building, did it have requirements when
It
it housed the
did.
jail?
Yeah.
Yeah,
so-
it did. It no longer has.
So,
So,
we may need a mix of these per
yeah, I don't
generator.
see the need for quarterly, particularly if you've got a reporting device on it that's telling you
yeah,
if it's all
he
functioning.
didn't either.
But
Maybe we should get a list of our generators and an idea of which
Yeah.
is
I would
1
still
or
like to have a
2.
generator. Mine's been still broken forever.
Well, and they think, Mick, that yours is
Just a
probably
minor.
a very fixable deal. It just never got
Wants everything.
all what it needed once it throwed the shoe, so. They don't think yours is a piece of junk. They think that yours, just from what they've looked at, can,
Be repaired.
it can.
So the next thing is gonna be to have them come and actually talk with us, give a presentation on another Friday session.
Yes.
Okay.
And they'll walk us through some of those, and we'll have that sheet. We have one now, Cheryl, that's kind of showing the dry and wets and things
Right.
like that.
Which
But-
ones need it versus which ones don't, and then
Yeah.
give them a little further.
And we haven't finished our assessment, which by the end of next week, they'll be through with their assessment with Lee. Lee's got them coordinated to finish the rest of the site inspections. We've been through everything else, so. There was a need for, like at the jail, and I spoke to Will about this, and he was certainly good. When John took me out there to walk me through that, we need to have the ability to put a permanently pump station on that generator. It's too much fuel, and we need to be able to use or
Use that fuel,
recycle that.
use that fuel up as we go and
Yeah.
replenish it, so it doesn't get stale.
Right.
What we talked about from the beginning.
And so, and the generator's set up to have the portal, he showed me where that hooks up at and how that goes, and we just need to go ahead and get that priced and done. But I know each year we need to, and hopefully we're gonna be successful with this grant, but it's probably gonna do our radio towers. And maybe 8 total generators. Do you remember what was on that list you gave me?
It looked like 19.
But there is, but I'm talking about in the FEMA grant.
Like, how
Wasn't it
much
just
will the grant will cover?
8, 6 or 8?
He had wrote 19 in the narrative, but he
That's how
wanted-
many?
wanted to replace 19.
Yeah, but there's no way we can.
Yeah, cause there's
replace
only
it.
19 on this generator list, but that grant may not.
But $240,000 only gonna go.
204.
Oh, 204.
Yeah, it was,
Yeah, that's not gonna go over.
that, but that included our $20,000 share. The local share was
Yeah.
20,000.
But didn't we decide that we had upped our local share to 51,000 for some reason? 41 plus 10?
Yeah, I didn't see that number, but it was in there somewhere, and I think that's where they wrote back to him and said the numbers didn't match.
But anyway, it's going to be a 5-year process getting us, we want this to roll through, give us the ability to get those critical generators done. Jail's always critical, but they're sitting on a brand new one right now, so, but the rest of them need to roll through and.
So who's gonna manage the portal once it's all in? I mean,
Well,
the jail needs to be standalone.
Mark.
They're just
gonna
gonna
let you do
we can see, all of us, Mark, will have the portal, but B&D will be, making sure that the portal is reporting and everything's up to date off of what's done each and every week that they want us to touch.
I get that, but somebody's gonna have to watch it and know.
Who's checking that?
Who's checking to make sure everything's working?
Well,
If not, we're just paying for something that not.
Well, Barry's not
well,
here, so Barry
I'll
can
give
do
it to you like, I give it to
So
you
Barry
like this,
gets out here and
Mark.
loses things, so.
Well, that's why we need to give him something.
You know, that's like telling us here that we need to pick somebody to watch Brandon to make sure the software is functioning correctly. That can't be done.
Well, I mean,
These people are 10 times smarter than us on the portal than.
I
But
get,
should not this fall under EMO? I mean, I don't want to throw Lee
No,
out and give him
that's-
something, but the generators are kind of
Yeah.
emergency
I think it's
systems.
probably
No,
already.
We wouldn't have this shape if,
Okay, fair enough. I mean, but in a perfect world, it really should fall under that, right?
yeah.
Okay.
they're emergency equipment, so.
Yes, but yes, I
Other
understand.
than
Yeah,
that, I think.
That wasn't getting done, and that's why we're
No,
here.
I don't mind to ride shotgun. I'm just telling you right now that in my wildest day, and I went to school with Ben English. He's a smart motor scooter, and I couldn't ever be as smart as him and would depend on him to tell me.
But we
you
all
know.
get busy and we miss checking things, so
Yeah.
unless the system's gonna give him an alert sometimes it's good
Yeah, I'm
to
not
see that
doubting-
extra stuff.
I'm not doubting his capability whatsoever, but if we just set it off and stand alone and rely on a vendor to.
Right. Oh,
we
yeah,
need
no,
somebody-
no, I don't.
Somebody accountable.
Somebody that
to
that
us.
vendor is also communicating with.
Yeah, that's the only reason I bring this to the group is because this is somebody I depend on to tell me
It-
so
Yes.
much.
So
I'm
Jeff's
not
gonna
doubting
take
his
it.
capabilities, that's not.
Yeah, no,
Jeff,
I'm just saying it's, you
His
know,
English works for who?
Ben English works for B&D.
I think he's ordering off of our county account for Caterpillar, and he can't do that.
that is
Yeah.
correct.
No, he is ordering those kits. They pick those up.
But he can't do that. He can't order on the county account, we're tax exempt, he's not. So he cannot order on our account. You have to get Jack to order it, or whatever you wanna
Well,
do, but
I
he
mean-
can't order on a county account.
We can only get our discount if it's an online order. And so that,
I mean, not my rule, I'm just saying, you,
but
no one that's
we're,
not a county employee cannot order on a county account.
Right.
but we've got them set up with a county account, or John Jones set up with the county account to get into the portal. So,
I think they're gonna have, what you're saying, Margaret, is they need to have you or somebody.
Or Jack, or anybody who's a county employee
press the
can
button.
order on the account, it has to have their name on the ticket.
Right.
We cannot let a non-county employee charge on our county account because we are tax exempt, that's against the law. He's getting a tax exempt item. I understand it's for us, I'm not arguing that point, but he's getting a tax exempt item when he should be charged tax because he's just a general person. I guarantee you his business is not tax exempt.
no, he's not.
So he cannot charge on our tax
Maybe
exempt.
We
farm
need to be
exempt.
we need to be making the purchases and handing the equipment.
Yeah.
That is correct, that's what I'm saying.
But
But,
I think
orders
what
it
they're doing
online.
is shortcutting it instead of running it
Yes.
through
Yeah,
us to
so-
buy it.
It's
to
like
buy
when Lee
it.
Thurman used to buy from Airmark, and we told him, you can't do that. It has to be the jail buy it, then you do whatever you need to do.
Right, so.
yeah, but like here is, and it's just the complications of the world.
it-
So Caterpillar, for example, if Jack went to Caterpillar today and said, I need a kit for a 140 M3. Caterpillar don't even know what he's talking about locally.
Right.
So unless they said, and this was the initial discussion, oh, we don't have those, Caterpillar don't do that. Ben then goes online, places the kit order, ships it to Warren Cat, goes down there to pick up the order to change.
So
it.
that needs to run through our purchasing
I was gonna say
agent.
that I think you need to
That
ask for a purchase order, have us set up an online account and do it, because he can't do that.
Right, so we're gonna,
We can't do that. I understand it's a complication for you, but we can't do it.
because there's also no safeguards, not that he would, but there's no
Right.
safeguards that
Right.
somebody couldn't use that account.
And
For
they
their
buy
own
whatever they
benefits.
want for their personal business.
Correct.
It's just like we used to have, no offense, some road and bridge employees that like, well, I'm at the parts store and I need this light for my car. Here, put that on the county account, and they pay cash for it, but they got it tax-free. Because they were using the county account, you can't do that.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to look at that because, you know, it's too deep a well. It's like Brendan asking me something that, and
So,
I need to
understand.
go,
Except Brendan works for the county.
yeah.
Right.
I mean, maybe he
He
could
does.
put Jack as a user, he could put you as a user,
Yeah.
you're the one I mean, there's gotta be
I think
something
there's
that can be
a way
done.
for this
Well,
not to be.
now, yeah, and because all the tickets are in our names.
Yeah, but it says the person who purchased it was Ben English.
Yeah.
Right, who is not a county employee,
Yeah.
so. We love those ORRs, right?
I don't think it's gonna be that
But-
much
But
trouble to
if
fix.
Ben orders it and put Jack's name on it, that's not good either, right? I mean,
I mean,
No.
that's
Same
not
thing is
supposed to happen,
occurring,
it's supposed to
but-
be a county employee, right?
Well, and it's gonna need to go through the purchasing policy anyway. at
That's
this
what's gonna
point.
happen
So
once-
it's
yeah.
gonna have to go through
Yeah.
the new policy, and they'll be a requisition not to get filed, and purchase it.
so we'll just have
We'll
to
fix that.
study
I
that,
think
yeah.
we can fix it. I don't think
Yeah.
it's that hard. Okay. Anyone else?
I would like to save money on the generators.
You wanna make that on the record?
We, I mean, we spent
Yes.
$50,000, $52,000 last year.
Yeah.
And I don't think we,
And that wasn't for regular maintenance or anything, that was just,
A little bit maybe, but very little.
yeah, that was, there's no reason that should be anywhere close to that kind of budget.
okay. It is 11:38, and court is adjourned.